The first period of having a child is like you're becoming a parent for the first time, and it's full of changes. From every parent I've talked to, you're going to undergo a lot of changes, and your perspective on life, your perspective on time, I always talk about, fundamentally changes.
I'd call it blended. I mean, I think, we have a life and a business and kids together. And so it all kind of, bleeds into each other. And we definitely have carved out hours for work and carved out hours for family. But of course, there's overlap.
Welcome to Startup Dad, the podcast where we dive deep into the lives of dads who are also leaders in the world of startups and business. I'm your host, Adam Fishman. My guests today are husband and wife founding team, Neil Vidyarthi and Lauren Dugan. He's a serial founder and startup marketer for companies like Todoist, Polygon, and Avail. She's a content and social media expert who has also founded numerous companies. Together, they're part of the founding team of Feel Good Games, which built an AI storytelling platform for kids called Little Magic Stories. They're also mom and dad to two of their own kids. We talked about finding work that helps your kids and their generation, starting companies with friends and family, how their oldest son helped motivate them to launch their latest endeavor, and why kids have made them more successful and capable founders. My favorite part of our conversation was their advice to other founders who are new or soon to be parents, and our lightning round, which is not to be missed. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite podcast player so you never miss a weekly episode. Welcome, Neil and Lauren, to Startup Dad, husband and wife, dream team, and co-founders of a company. I'm excited to have the two of you here today. Thanks for agreeing to join me on this festival of marriage and parenting.
It's a festival. Awesome. I didn't know what I was signing up for. It is a festival, isn't it? Yeah, every day is an adventure. We just got off an adventure right now, figuring out what to do with our kid and how to drop him off, and then balancing that with cap tables. So it's an adventure. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, man. All right. Well, you two are the co-founders of a company called Feel Good Games. You're also married, as I implied in the start of this, and you have two kids. And I also noticed, I was doing some sleuthing. Some might call it stalking. I call it sleuthing. That this is not the first company that the two of you have worked on together, and that there may also be other family members involved in this rigmarole. So let's start there. Would I be correct to say that you both seem to have a preference for working with friends and family?
It's a preference and a predilection and a pattern. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a whole thesis around it, if you want to hear it.
I would love to hear that thesis. Because Neil, your brother is involved in the company. Lauren, I even saw maybe your sister.
Yep, she's been helping.
Cool.
Yep.
So it's a whole family affair. Have the kids gotten involved yet?
Yeah.
They're beta testers. They're in front of the camera too sometimes. We have some
Yes.
clips of our son as the CEO, which we can get into later.
Yes.
He's telling me what to do, and like we got these clips of him. He will take credit for the entire company, Feel Good Games, like non-ironically. I was like, we did it together, right? He's like, no, I had the idea and I told you, and then you started the company because of me.
Awesome. Well, tell me about your whole thesis. Very, very curious about this.
When we started the company, I had some time where I was trying to figure out exactly what I would do with this next phase of my career. And I ranked all the things that I valued. I was like, okay, what's 1, 2, 3? And every morning I would wake up 5 a.m. and change that order. And trust was like super high on that list. And, it was weird, but it was a really foundational concept. And essentially, to make a long story short, the thesis was if you have a highly trusted group of people in a difficult endeavor, you're going to succeed more. And who do I trust more than friends and family? And then you go online, you start to research it, and everyone's like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But when I examined it, there's a lot of people that have succeeded. And it's a really careful trade-off. If you have the maturity to sit down and say, we're going to put the personal stuff to the side right now and talk about, this role. For instance, I'm the CEO, right? CEO to, a head of engineering, let's say. And we're going to have this discussion. That's like a critical point. If that discussion can happen, then I find that my thesis was that the goods will far outweigh the bads. When you look left and right in your company and you're like, I care about this person. I want to win for them. I'm going to get through this day. And so far that's been like more than true.
Yeah. And I've had a couple of other folks on this show. Robert Wolf, who's founded 3 companies with his brother. And then, of course, I haven't had them on, but the Collison brothers, who co-founded Stripe, they're fairly well-known family. But you're right that if you go and you do research on this, everyone is like, don't do it. Don't start a company with friends. Don't start a company with family. Like, separate those 2 things out. So I'm curious, considering the 2 of you are married, is it possible to separate this stuff out? Like, or do you sit around the dinner table with the kids and you're talking about work and you're thinking, like, is this a 24/7 like work? We're thinking about work all the time and talking about it all the time situation?
I'd call it blended. I mean, I think, we have a life and a business and kids together. And so it all kind of, bleeds into each other. And we definitely have carved out hours for work and carved out hours for family. But of course, there's overlap. Like, today our childcare fell through. And so we had to enlist the grandparents for right now. So they're with the youngest right now. And that's just how it goes, So I think we have those around the dinner conversations about work. And then we also have the around the dinner conversations about how was school with our eldest and, how was playing with the indoor kinetic sand with our youngest too. So it all comes together. That's how it is, I think, with a family and a business.
Neil, what would you say are some of the trade-offs? You 2 could have gone on separate paths, obviously stayed married, but not built a company together or several companies together. You could have done this with somebody else, maybe just you and your brother or, something like that. What are the trade-offs or things that you've realized, maybe not like downsides, but what are you kind of, changing or evaluating differently when you're starting a company with a significant other and family?
I'm an engineer, so trade-offs is like the first thing they teach you, right? Everything has a trade-off. So one of the things that's been so amazing, and I'll get to the trade-offs in a second, is the bandwidth, the high bandwidth. So there's a shorthand between all of us. And there's so much emotional intuition that's necessary to run, like, especially a high-speed organization where you're going to be stepping on each other's toes a lot. So that was a positive. The negative is that we know everybody's hangups. The other founder is a friend, childhood friend. I met him when I was 5, right? Like, we're lifelong friends. And so all of us know each other super well. And so we know when there's a tendency, this is where it really blurs. Because I'm like, if there's a tendency to do things a certain way, and then we're seeing it in work, am I criticizing the work or am I criticizing the person? Because we've had this discussion so many times over and over and over. And of course, back to me as well. And so it takes a lot of maturity in those moments to just be like, we're committed to the mission, which is what I just keep reminding. I've become a parrot about this stuff.
Neil, you work with your brother. Lauren, your sister, is involved. Which one of those dynamics is more challenging? The brother-brother dynamic or the sister-sister dynamic?
Brother is, we used to fight, right? Like all day, all night,
Totally.
Physically. We'll like hash it out and play a game of Street Fighter and like we used to when we were kids. And like, that's going to be the end of it. So he's been like highly critical of things that he really shouldn't have. And I'm going to use this platform today to be like, Jay, you were totally wrong about the UX.
What about Lauren? What about the sister-sister dynamic?
I think it kind of goes back to what Neil was alluding to about like emotional shorthand and understanding each other's. I mean, I've known her entire life. She's known me almost my entire life. So I've seen her grow as a person and I can recognize that. But I also have like a mental image of who she was when, we were arguing over who got to use the bathroom first to get ready for school. It's deeper. We have the longer relationship. I would say it makes it easier overall for me and her to communicate about things, but there are certain maybe topics that are a little bit more emotionally charged that might make it a little tougher. But overall, it's a pleasure, really. And I mean, I've also known Jay and Kent, the other co-founders too, for years and years and years. And I think that it helps.
Cool. All right. So I want to go all the way back and ask the 2 of you about where you grew up and what you were both like as kids.
I guess that's where my mind goes right away, is that like I was obsessed with video games, and that's why I'm building a games company now for good. When I was in grade 2, I gave a speech to the class saying why video games are good for you. And like my dad would always make fun of this and like be like, that's what you chose. But he actually helped me do that because I was so obsessed with it. And now I'm actually making a games company that tries to make games good for them. I feel like it come full circle. And that really ties into when I met Lauren, because she was playing Pokemon in an emulator the day I met her. And I was like, anyone that does this, that was the cherry on top.
For the record, I owned the cartridge. I was playing on an emulator, but legally for anyone.
Right. We got to be careful for that very significant government audit of the Startup Dad podcast that inevitably happens with every episode. So
Nintendo come after it.
Yes, the Nintendo audit. Well, so it was love at first Pokemon for the two of you. Legal Pokemon, by the way. Okay, cool. And now I want to talk about your kids. So tell me about them. You've got 2.
Yes, we have 2. Our youngest just turned 3 a couple of days ago. So he's newly 3, newly learning the power of no. It's a fun challenge. And then our eldest is almost 8. So there's about 5 years between them. And yeah, I mean, it's been a joy. They're boys. They're really high energy, very creative and fun. And I think, overall, becoming a parent, you learn to see things through your children's eyes. And that was, again, that's a big reason for why we do what we do with Feel Good Games, is seeing the world through our kids' eyes. It makes the world a lot more fun. And so we thought, why not bring more fun into the world?
Ash is cerebral and plays the piano, and Leo's like a total like power puncher, and all he wants to do is kick and punch like I was. And I find that like they start to take after us in certain ways. And it's amazing to see Ash when, for instance, I sit at piano class and I have no idea what he's doing because I never took it. And to see him go beyond what I can even fathom is so exciting for some deep reason. And I think so many dads feel that. And then it looks like Leo's going to go into my lane. Like he's throwing the ball into the basketball net from far away by his own volition. I think that's really interesting. Kids like really find what they really want to do. And it's more gardening than like building. I may have had that impression as an engineer.
Okay. Neil, you were talking about the role of parent as gardener. And I've heard this a couple of times on the pod before. Tell me about dad and mom as the gardener versus what else? What would the alternative be?
I probably felt as an engineer that you're going to build your kid, you're going to put some structure in, and then they're going to climb that structure or become that structure. And just like how a plant chases the sunlight, you're kind of giving it the water and foundation to grow. When I see them chase their sunlight, essentially pretty magical. I feel like it's nature's method of enlightening us a little bit to life. That's how powerful it is to me when I watch Leo throw the basketball in the net. I'm having these moments that like these currents underneath where I was never going to be a gardener. I have no idea. I have no green thumb. Lauren, I'm going to call you out as also having started gardens that died.
No, it's my sad shame. It is.
Me too.
So we weren't gardeners, and Lauren, mom as I call her, is the best gardener in the world. And I see the way she helps them grow and gives them the space where they can grow into. And it's just totally changed my opinion on what we can control and what we can't in life.
Speaking of something that you can control, though, I wanted to ask you about deciding to start a company together and how you talk to your kids about it, or if you talk to them about it. They were probably like, if I'm doing the math correctly, maybe 6 and 2 or a little bit younger even than that when you started. Hard to have a conversation with a 2-year-old about anything other than like kinetic sand. What was that conversation like between the two of you getting into this again, and then with maybe your oldest or however you talk to him about it?
Like Neil said before, our eldest, Ash, he takes claim for starting this company. So he's been there since the beginning. We started it for a variety of reasons, but one of which was these early morning moments with him. He was an early riser from probably the age of 4 to 6, like a 5 a.m., still dark outside for many, many more hours kind of early riser. And Neil and I naturally are not that early risers. So he would come into our bed and our brains are not fully on. They're like 20% online and you're trying to get him to go back to sleep and just lie down. And we found telling stories with him would be helpful. It would calm him down. It would give us maybe an hour more rest. And there were these like interactive stories where we would, honestly, 90% of my stories started with there was a squirrel in a forest because I had no creative juice in me in the morning. But then Ash would kind of take it and he would add his bits and Neil would add his bits. And then we'd all just tell this little story in bed and it would calm him down and get us some more rest. So, like Neil said, following their sunshine, this was kind of our sunshine, was seeing him respond to these stories. It was so amazing. It was part of our family's fabric. And AI came about. We saw it as this kind of partner that could help us expand what we were already doing with Ash. So talking to him about it, he's been there since the beginning. He came up with a lot of our, initial creative, he was our inspiration. And then talking to Leo, not as easy. Now he doesn't really get it, but I will say we have a little mascot. And so the one thing he does get, he can talk to Blobby. So he understands this is the AI buddy that helps kids create stories on the app. And we have this. And so Leo will talk to Blobby. He gets that you can kind of talk to him. So it's a different conversation with Leo, but it's very cute.
That's amazing. I love Blobby. The picture the two of you sent me, or the picture that Neil sent me, is the two of you holding Blobby in between you. So, Neil, anything that you'd add to that? I mean, it seems like the two of you were motivated to start this company by your kids, or certainly by Ash, who you kind of were doing this with before there was a product involved.
When I talk to Ash and when I look at Ash and when he's 8, and so many parents are going to feel this, you're like, what world are they going to enter? Especially today. It's like, what is going to prepare them? Things are changing month to month. And, we didn't have that conversation conduit, right? Like around 7 and 8, the YouTube's coming in, the Roblox is coming. These things are coming in. And I felt, I guess, deeply, I wanted to go on a journey with him. It all kind of dovetailed from there. Like, so the conversations were like, what can we do with technology? What do you want to try with technology? He wanted to try something. And I wanted to model him that like, you can take small ideas and just go so far with it. And I also want to model that for others. I want him to be a part of that and see us try at our hardest. It's such a hard market. It's consumer. There's a million distractions. We're not ignorant to how hard it is to climb through this gauntlet. But it's been so rewarding to see him grow and him ask questions about what we're doing and cheer for us. One time he said to me, I have $200 in my piggy bank, and if you need it for the business, I'll give it to you. And I was like, wow, like just so motivated to show him that that's possible and show everybody that's possible. And that's maybe, I think, to found something is to be a little delusional. And I feel like it would be great to get a little bit of a message out there that with AI, it's going to be all this scare talk, but there's an opportunity for everybody to really like pursue things really hard. And so I'm starting with my own kid.
Very cool. I did want to ask the two of you. So a lot of the audience of this podcast is founders and tech professionals and even, non-tech folks. They have a family and they're working through it. They are thinking about a family. I had somebody reach out yesterday and say, hey, I'm on the cusp of being a new dad and I work at this super high-flying startup, and I just wanted to know if you'd be able to chat about it. Like, this show has been really helpful for me. And so for the founders out there, like you both are serial founders who are considering starting a family, and they're worried about, might this impact me professionally? How am I going to raise a kid or kids while running a company? Did the two of you have any advice that you would give to them?
It's definitely not a decision to take lightly because it's a risk to go down this path. And you have to understand, where you are, where your skills are, what your support system is like. I would really recommend taking stock of like doing that 6 month, 1 year, 2 year outlook in terms of managing childcare, managing like the realities of a household with kids, because before you become a parent, there's a lot of things that you do as a parent that you don't know you have to do until you become a parent. So doing your best to get that in order and understand, the reality of, yeah, I have grandparents I can call on, or I have, a group of friends who's my support system and I know I can go to talk to them when I get down. And just understanding what your support system looks like, it'll look different for everybody, can really help to understand your time, your commitment, the space in your life that you'll have, because it can become all encompassing. There's certain days where we're both in on this same journey in the same business. And if something massive is happening at Feel Good Games, that can squeeze out family time that day, and there's days of guilt and there's days where it becomes hard to juggle and have that perfect balance every day. So I think accepting that you won't have a perfect balance every day. Your kids are going to get sick. Then you won't be able to focus on your business that day so much. So being kind to yourself and understanding these things is very important. But I'm sure there's more that you can add too, Neil, because it's big. Like having a business is like having another family too. So it's like they're big responsibilities.
If I was about to do the founder journey and about to have a kid, the first period of having a child is like you're becoming a parent for the first time, and it's full of changes. From every parent I've talked to, you're going to undergo a lot of changes, and your perspective on life, your perspective on time, I always talk about, fundamentally changes. Like, you're all of a sudden living on the alarm clock of a toddler who might every 2 hours want you. You're living in like 2-hour days almost, trying to get some sleep every 2 hours. Sometimes they sleep through the day, and you're fine though. And if you're doing the founder thing too at the exact same time, I think you should be ready for the amount of learning you're going to do. It's going to be a challenge, I guess. Being completely honest, it's not going to be the same as doing it when you're like way before kids. Like, you have to be ready to bite the bullet. It's going to be much harder, and you're not going to have as much energy. You're going to have to be super ruthless with prioritization, and you're going to have to accept some days that you're going to be like, I've overcommitted.
Yeah. How did the two of you handle those kinds of trade-offs as a co-founding team? Like, let's say something happens with one of the kids. Like, do you, high five and tag each other in? Like, who's got the most energy? Who has the investor call today? Like, how do you kind of balance that?
You kind of just summed it up really well. It's like it's down to that moment in time when, there's competing priorities, family, business, and who has the energy for this, who has the energy for that, which one has the highest need of which one of us. Like, it's very much having to know what the situation calls for. And again, going back to that emotional shorthand, Neil and I obviously know each other very well. So we know when I'm overwhelmed in this area, but I have energy for that area. And okay, yeah, let's flip. And, we have that ability to trade off very well. But it's not always easy, right? Sometimes sometimes I need to be in a call and my toddler just wants me, it has to be mom right now. And, how do you deal with that? And same for Neil. The competing priorities it's tough, but
That's very kind, but there's no call where Leo is like, I want to see dad. Well, he doesn't.
it's true.
I know the feeling, Neil. I know. And also, Lauren, I'm sorry.
I tried, but yeah, it's true.
How do you two fit founder life into a kid's schedule? Like, do you end up working strange and off hours some days or most days? What's the schedule look like for the two of you?
Yeah. I'm going to start by saying we rigorously used project management tools for our life and our family. So I'm going to shout out Todoist. I used to work there, but I'm a diehard user of it, and we are too. We have a team inbox, a family team inbox, an Ashwin to-do list, and it's very carefully organized. And, when I started asking us to do that, it was a little bit of a drag, but now we live by it. And so we're able to like time box and chunk things together and make sure that we're moving in a certain direction. The challenge is when we're both at 30% energy. It's like if I'm at 100 and you're at 30, great. But when we're both at 30%, it's really grinding. Every parent knows this. Those moments are like a really slog of a negotiation, because so we try to systematize as much as possible. So it's like, well, I'm taking today, you're taking tomorrow. But there are those days where we just look at each other and we're like, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Guess we're ordering takeout and having ice cream for dinner. Like that's what we're doing tonight, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't do that 7 days a week.
Well, I mean, you can, but the end result probably wouldn't be great for our own health and wellness. So you mentioned Todoist, which is a place you used to work, Neil, and you mentioned kind of time boxing. I also know, about things like the Pomodoro technique.
Mhm.
But there was another thing that you both mentioned in the prep for this, which is something called the Freedom app. And so I'm wondering, like, how do you leverage time boxing and Pomodoro and what is the Freedom app when it comes to like balancing or figuring out parenting?
The short answer is that I don't do it as well as I want to. And everyone is probably like that. I've seen the most organized people and they're like, I don't do enough Pomodoro. I don't do enough time boxing. I fall off it. So you're constantly guilty. But when it works, what you can finish, if you say I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to finish something versus it open-ended, you'll finish it in 30 minutes, which is like a shock, but it's true. The last 5 minutes, you'll be more productive than you were all day. So we do that for a lot of our work because we have to as parents. We're like, okay, it's going to end at 3 and I have 2 more tasks to do today. So that's one. The two, the Freedom app is because we can't afford as much of the endless scrolling and doom scrolling and checking whatever news source you want, or even checking into your Slack while you're off. And Freedom roots it out from the server level, right? Like you can't get to your Slack. Your Slack was just an empty shell. It won't connect to the Slack server anymore. Your phone starts to become this dumb brick and you're just like, oh, why am I even? And so you save that time and you pay attention to your kids and you go outside and like, I would love to say we can all do it through willpower, but my brother Jay actually just wrote a book called Reclaim Your Mind, which is all about the willpower is not going to work. It's like you against 10 data scientists every time you pick up your phone. You got to figure it out. So Freedom app is really cool for that. And I hope it's helpful to people. It's been huge for me.
Yeah. Lauren, do you use any other kind of time hacks or, ways of systems for kind of time boxing?
No, not too different from Neil. Like I'd say, I mean, Todoist is how we keep our family and business lives organized. So having it all in one place really helps so that I'm not overextending in terms of the number of tools that I have. I find that can be overwhelming because there's so many. But for me, it's being mindful of when I have my phone and when I don't have my phone, when I'm at my desk, when I'm not at my desk, and trying to put up those distinctions and barriers whenever I can and when they're needed. But, sometimes it bleeds, but then you take stock of it and you say, no, okay, I'm going to do better next time. And that's kind of how it goes.
So Neil, you mentioned this like cutoff time. Hey, I've got to get these 2 tasks done before 3:00 or I turn into a pumpkin / my kids come home from whatever school, daycare, whatever. A lot of people describe that sort of forcing function as like a superpower of being a parent and running a company. Would the two of you say that having kids has made you more successful and or capable of running companies, like versus say your younger selves, 15, 20 years ago?
Yep.
Lauren, you were quick to respond. Why do you think that is?
What Neil said earlier, like you must feed your children. Okay. You must before school, that must happen. So because of those constraints, it happens. Right. And so the same thing is applicable to most tasks. There's certain things you need deep work and you need, a lot of focus, but even those time boxing, if they take longer time, that's what they take. But things must happen. They must happen in a certain time. And I think parenting gives you that superpower. It forces that superpower on you, whether willingly or not, you get that superpower. I think parents all have that superpower.
Well, she just said you must feed them. And it reminded me of Leo, who always says you must go to the office. He says to me, I say, hey, you want to come with me when he's with mom? You must go to the office, Dada. And so that's what comes to mind, one. But the second one that really does come to mind is that I guess I want to call back to my earlier answer to someone that's about to become a parent, is that you totally get superpowers. Totally. Your focus, your ability to like cut out the inessential. That's a Bruce Lee quote. I think hack away at the inessential is great. It's forced on you. And if you're about to be a founder, you're probably a person that wants to test themselves and do something wild and ambitious. And also your kids will cheer you on and they'll get super pumped by it. And, you look at them and you think, I want to build something amazing for them and for our family. So you get all kinds of stuff. So my 15 years ago self, wouldn't be able to compete with me today, I think.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of founders, especially those with young kids, who are like, they're lamenting, like, I cannot even fathom how much time I wasted before I had kids, right? Like, what was I even doing for so many hours of a day? I wasn't working.
Was it all Game of Thrones and Netflix? Like, was it really like that's Reed Hastings, like really just won over an entire decade of my life? What did I do?
Probably that. You alluded to one of these stories earlier, but there's a couple of stories that you two have that I would love to get out on this show. The first one is one that terrifies me, which is, I don't know if both of you were involved in this trip, but Neil, I know you were. You took you took Ashwin on a work trip to Chile, of all places, when he was like 1 or 2. By my calculation, that is a 15+ hour flight. I don't even know that I, as an adult, as a grown human, would survive that flight. So I have 2 questions for you. One is, tell me about it. Second is, why did you do it? And the third is, how did you pull it off?
We really debated this super hard, right, Laura? Like, we really had to figure this out. And it was with our Todoist, amazing company. They hold legendary retreats. And we wanted to go and join them. And I think, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but we definitely heard through the grapevine about parents that do this. There is a thing in the first year where parents kind of want to keep doing the same things you did before and not be limited. And we totally got sucked into that, I think. We were like, we can do this.
With an entire like bag full of diapers instead of, changes of clothes for ourselves. We can do it. It's all the same. No.
We did sleep in the bathroom on this trip. This is a work trip, and me and Lauren were in the tub lying down while he slept, because it was a room that didn't have 2 sections, and he was sleeping barely. He didn't like to sleep, Ashwin, and I'll never forget that moment.
You slept in the bathtub in the hotel room.
Yeah, we took some blankets and pillows, and he got the room. The crib wouldn't fit in the bathroom, right, nor was it safe because he could maybe reach stuff. So he got the center of the room, and he was very sensitive to light, sound, our presence. So he needed total darkness with white noise right by the crib, and like this perfect recipe for sleep. And we tried to recreate it on our trip like it was at home, and it kind of worked. He did sleep okay, but we slept in the tub, so we maybe didn't, sleep
Amazing.
Okay.
You said he was maybe 8 months old. That's kind of like roughly the potted plant stage of parenting. You can kind of like put a kid and he just sort of sits there and maybe like slumps over a little bit, like Winston Churchill. How was he on the flight? Did you do anything special, or did you learn anything about traveling with a young child on an international flight from that experience?
We were the parents. When he started crying, we weren't showing him screens. We were like, screens are not good for babies. And he started to cry. And after like 7 hours, he was really ramping up, and everyone was looking and super annoyed. And we'd kind of lost it. We were just at a loss. And this 15-year-old kid that was sitting beside us reached over slowly and just gave his phone to the baby, and the baby stopped crying. And I was humbled, I guess, and also embarrassed and happy.
Sometimes your rules go right out the window on the flight. So.
Yeah, this kid gave up his own phone, and then I don't know, doing just. It was bad. It was bad. It was one of those moments where like you got to break rules. You're gonna have rules, and you get crushed as you grow up as a parent. You're like, it's not gonna work the way you think it is at all, in my opinion. If there's a parent out there that does feel that, please let me know. Like, I would love to hear that story, actually.
No, those parents just posture on social media, and when it actually comes, when the rubber meets the road, everything falls apart. So right. I appreciate that story, because, a lot of people, they really beat themselves up about this, and we're all just doing our best. And, 7 hours in of crying, you got to try something different. It happened, and it's fine. Ash has founded a company with you, so it's totally good. Speaking of which, the second story is you made a video of Ash as the CEO of the company. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, this is more recent. And we asked him one day, I'm very sensitive to getting my kids' permission, even the 3-year-old, to put them online. I don't want to put them online if they don't feel comfortable. And so we explained it, and he said, yeah, I want to go on and talk about feel good games. And so we said, okay. We kind of talked about what he thought about feel good games. And it really came out strongly in that conversation that he is a founder, and he in his head, and that is who he is. And it was great. And I think zooming out beyond the video of him as the CEO, it was great as parents to hear him answer these really interesting questions that maybe you don't have time or you don't think to ask your kids too often. Because, we talk in our day-to-day, like, how was school and this and that. But these questions were more like, what do you hope kids get out of stories? Like asking a 7 or 8-year-old their thoughts, their more philosophical thoughts on certain things. It's illuminating. So it was such a fun thing to do. He was so surprising, but I mean, not too surprising, but so confident on camera. Had no qualms, just, chatting and letting it all out, letting all his thoughts out. So it was great to see him do that. And it was just a really fun exercise.
Awesome. I'll try to link to that in the show notes because that'd be probably a fun thing for people to watch, assuming it's probably on a YouTube channel, or we'll find it. The researchers find everything. So
it's actually debuting in like a day or two. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Well, then we will definitely link to it. Okay, this is a fun one. You obviously, your partners in life, your partners in your startup, and agreement and alignment is super important. But what's something that the two of you don't quite agree on when it comes to parenting, big or small?
Being too permissive.
I knew you would say that.
What's the boundary? What's the boundary that they have to push against, even if they disagree? I feel like that will build strength because it's how I was raised. And I don't even know if that's true. We've done so much research. But Laura, what do you think? Like,
Yeah, I would agree. Like, all I want to do is say, like, what boundary? I'm just going to hug them. Like, that's, so I'd say that would be one of the biggest ones. I mean, our parenting philosophy is very similar, but they're at the edges. I think we have, I think what you said, Neil, I think a lot of it comes from how we were raised. And when you become a parent, it gives you an opportunity, and again, maybe forces the opportunity for you to assess your own childhood a little bit and how it created you. And so you have this perspective from the way you were raised, and I have a different perspective. And I think that sometimes, I'd say that might be the thing that causes the most butting heads in our parenting styles.
You mentioned that the two of you have pretty similar styles, which I find that a lot of parents, that's a thing that they align on up front. How did the two of you figure that out or discuss that before you had kids, or was that something that you discussed?
this makes me want to say one thing, which is that we lived together from the moment we met each other, right? I moved into it, and we were literally like housemates in this one room. I was subletting a subletter, and we met, and then she was playing Pokemon. And we've always had pretty aligned styles. I know we didn't talk about it or think that much about it. It just kind of happened. And once it started happening, we are definitely like along for the journey. I think we learned together, I guess. But Lauren, I have to give credit actually, which is that she leads. She does a ton of reading. She does a ton of organizing. She makes sure, like, if I have a strong opinion about something, she'll always bring the data and be like, there's a lot of data that says, like about boundaries, even like, the way that you enforce them and when you can enforce them. Because the thing that I think is tough is when he's two, like they're not going to take negative feedback. Like it just, their brain isn't ready for it. So you just want to kind of help them sprout, potted plant, and, make sure that they actually grow. And it can be tempting to be like, no, this is a bad thing to do. But it's just going to create strife and say, did I go to the office?
Yeah, the boundary is more of like the natural consequence at that point. As long as they're going to be safe, if you put your hand near a hot stove, it's hot. And you probably don't do that again. As long as the house doesn't get burned down.
Yes, a lot of talk of natural consequences in this house. And it sounds like you know it. And Lauren is the one that taught me that.
That's how I think kids learn best. That's how humans learn best.
That's right. Okay. Last few questions for the two of you before our lightning round. So, the two of you built an entire career, multi-decades long career in technology or around technology. And you kind of alluded to this, Neil, which is like, I don't know what life is going to be like next month. Things are changing so fast. What do the two of you want your kids' relationship to be with technology as they get older? Is this something you've talked about, talk about regularly?
Obviously, AI is, the central technology right now that's on everybody's mind. And when I see the generation just below ours, like let's say they're university students right now, or just kind of graduating, I see a lack of critical thinking maybe related to technology. And I don't think it's their fault. And I think that it's something that can be worked on. But I want our kids to think critically about the technology in their lives, how it is affecting them, how it affects their emotions, how do they feel before, during, and after using technology, being able to express that to themselves or others. We started this company because we both are like techno optimists. We feel like it has the big potential to be a force for good in people's lives if it is built and oriented towards that. But I think as kids grow, my 7-year-old, when he was, let's say 4 or 5 and just starting to use the iPad, he wouldn't really understand like what was an ad and what was the game. And, these in-app ads were confusing and he didn't like them. And he had this immediate reaction, negative reaction to them. And just seeing that, it really taught me that, hey, like viscerally taught me that kids can't distinguish good and bad technology. As Neil said, there's 10 or 100 or an army of data scientists behind the screen trying to get their attention and pull them in. So equipping them with critical thinking skills, I think, is the number one most important thing I would like. And I would love my kids to be able to use it in a positive, healthy way in their lives.
I think for me, the relationship with technology is so crazy right now because it's literally going to be a relationship with an intelligence. We're getting to that point in one way or another. And so that relationship, quote unquote, is going to affect who they are, how they think. We're seeing cognitive stories of people with less cognition because they let the AI do the thinking for them. And it's even hard to parse what's good or bad in this quick of a changing environment. So, in my opinion, with intelligence in the machine, it's going to be so critical to define what does it mean to be human? What is unique to your experience that you want to preserve, that you want to live through and experience in your life? And I hope that we can teach them that. And part of why we started the business was to create playful, fun AIs that are in the room there too, and that can maybe pontificate on comedy and spiritual matters and adventures and story, and help illuminate a child so that they're like having a strong relationship with AI, and then also eventually getting to that age old question that comes from Socrates and all the great saints, which is like, who am I? Like, ultimately, that would be the thing I hope the modern technology age brings to kids.
Okay. Wow. Profound. Thank you both for sharing that. It's one of the most thoughtful interpretations of that question that I think I've heard on this show. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So your company is Feel Good Games. The first product that you have is Little Magic Stories. Besides that, what is the most creative use of AI that you've found as a parent?
I use it to help guide my parenting research. Like it's not directly with Ash or Leo, but I do use it to spark research. So I will use it as a tool if I have a question about maybe certain behaviors or certain things my kids are encountering in their lives. I will run it by my good old friend ChatGPT and start the journey there. A lot of times, I can give one more example. I used Mid-Journey with Ash to create custom Pokemon that he wanted to see and visualize. So that was fun to just get his idea about what would like a grass Pokemon with wings that was kind of like our cat, but a little different, and kind of create these custom little monsters for him.
Neil, what about you? Have you come up with any really creative uses of AI as a parent?
Our whole life is pretty much a creative use of AI as a parent. Other than that, for AI, it's funny, I guess. I'm still looking to see where it can enrich them and being very cautious about how I introduce it to them. So that's on one side. As a parent, though, getting creative, I think I found a good dad joke the other day. So there you go.
Love that. ChatGPT is pretty great at coming up with dad jokes. They're
Yeah.
incredibly cringeworthy too. So really good at that. Okay, tell me about a mistake or mistakes that you think you've made as a parent.
Son, my eldest, Ash, was talking about a spider had landed on his pillow. And that's a scary thing for, I feel, many humans, not just kids. A spider was on his pillow and he got you to deal with it, right, Neil? But then afterwards, he was very worked up and he was very scared and it was at bedtime. So I was trying to calm him down. And I don't know why, looking back, I thought this was a good idea. It worked in other situations where when I share stories of my own life and my own experience as a kid, he likes that. He relates to it. He knows I've gone through similar things. So I started telling him a few stories about bugs. I was at my cottage once and I was like 7. I put on a life jacket to get on a boat and there was a nest of spiders in it. And there were about 100 baby spiders that exploded out of it and crawled all over me, and it was horrifying. I was trying to empathize with him and show him, it happens and I survived and it's okay and we've all been through it. And he definitely took it as nightmare fuel and did not sleep that night. So, that was my yesterday's mistake.
But best intentions. I understand what you were trying to do there. So it's not like you immediately went over and like, hey, let's watch Arachnophobia before you go to bed. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, not quite. Not quite.
Yeah. What about you, Neil?
Ashton was super upset, and I was telling him to breathe and calm down and meditate. He was kicking his legs and totally like flailing. And I said, Ashton, it's a small thing. You have to calm down. And he said, Dad, I'm allowed to feel my feelings. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just expressing myself.
Profound.
And, yeah, I was kind of stunned. And it just generally, like, letting kids feel their feelings has been a big one for me, because they're suffering. They're like freaking out or panicking or all this stuff. And you want to be there for them, but it's okay to feel their feelings. And so I think, in the early days, I was trying to correct things a little too much.
Okay, I wanted to end on some advice for both personal and professional life, which, Neil, is a concept that you shared of finding value-aligned people. Can you tell me more about why that's been so important for you and the both of you?
Life is full of challenges. It's tough. And when people value the same thing, whether it's trust or making a difference, then when you get into those situations, you'll have each other's back naturally without having to use the willpower. And I guess I'm going back to that idea a few times, but it feels in today's world, we're living in a world that requires a ton of willpower for some people just to get up every day. And I've been in that situation too. I empathize with the state of things today. And when you find people that have the same values as you, maybe that's just having a good time. It'll flow that way without willpower. And, I use that word flow. Like I hope people can get into that state of flow. And that happens a lot more with value aligned, that people that have the same beliefs as you and same values.
Okay. Before lightning round, how can people follow along or be helpful to the two of you with your company, in life, all of the above?
If you want to try our app, it's up and it's free right now. We are working with anyone who's interested, whether or not you have kids, you're thinking of having kids, you're an aunt or a grandparent or anything, a teacher. It's available at app.littlemagic.stories.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram to keep up with our journey. It's just at Little Magic Stories on Instagram. It's our handle. Those are probably the two best ways to connect to us now. Neil and I were on LinkedIn, and we're cool to have DM conversations and chats with any parents who are on the same journey or thinking about getting on to the startup journey. We'd love to chat and just, share stories and swap stories. That's also amazing.
Cool. Did we leave anything out there, Neil? Any other ways to get in touch?
I would just also say that we really want to know what parents, like your podcast here is definitely has a lot of parents, and we're so early that we're trying to make this useful to parents, like in a use case way, like something that like really fits into your life and solves a problem once a week. It's not just a game, right? Like people are using it to teach their kids more reading or more creativity, but also something that you feel it's called, like parents are calling it healthy screen time. So I'd love to hear from parents, what are your healthy screen time choices? Like if I could magically see a 10,000 answers about what is a healthy screen time option for your 6 to 12-year-old, I would love to know. So if you have an opinion on that, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll survey some folks and find out for you. Okay. It's time for lightning round. Are you ready?
No.
That is the correct answer. All right, here we go. I ask you a question. You say the first thing that comes to mind. We can popcorn back and forth. You can tell the other person you want them to take it. Like really, whatever.
Okay.
It's a free for all. So here we go. What is the most indispensable parenting product that you have ever purchased?
Yoto.
Yoto.
What is Yoto? I've not heard of this.
Audio player, audio screen-free player for
Ooh.
kids. Very easy to use. Our eldest is an auditory learner, so it is his jam. He
Super
listens to
cool. What is the most useless parenting product you've ever purchased?
A wipes.
Yoto, no.
No. A wipes warmer. I hated that thing.
Wipes warmer. Yeah. Kids don't need warm wipes. Come on.
No.
Come on. Just hose them off in the yard. What is the weirdest thing that you've ever found in your kids' pockets or in the washing machine?
Most frequent is rocks. It's just constantly rocks. I pull out
Marbles and rocks. Leo always has marbles and rocks. Leo, one time he definitely came back and it was, I mean, I can only describe it as a brown gooey mess that he pulled out of his pocket. And you're just like, what is that? To be safe, we're going right for a bath because I have no idea. I can't really get a smell profile.
All right. Rocks, marbles, brown gooey substance in that order. True or false? There's only one correct way to load the dishwasher.
True.
Oh, there is one way that I don't do, right?
Well, I was going to say, whose way is the correct way?
She's
You
right.
don't know the way.
All right,
I don't
Neil,
know.
what is your signature dad superpower?
Wrestling them, like fighting them. Like Leo wants to like fight. Like they call it big monkey.
Okay.
And like anytime, if I go big monkey mode, all the kids will relax.
Okay.
No matter how crazy angry they are.
All right. Lauren, what is your signature mom superpower?
Hugs
Okay.
or funny voices too. They kind of like my silly voices.
Okay.
I don't know.
Awesome. All right. What is the crazier block of time in your house? 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
I'm going to go with morning.
Okay. If your kids had to describe you each in one word, what would it be, Neil?
Hard.
Okay.
I bet Ash would call me that. He'd be like, "You're too hard on me."
Okay, Lauren.
I mean, now that that's in my head, it might be soft.
There we go. Balance of yin and yang.
I
Okay.
think so.
What is the funniest thing that one of your kids has ever said in public? Funniest / most embarrassing.
I mean, there's asking loudly why someone's wearing something or like just pointing out someone's appearance like in a very loud way. They do that sometimes.
Kids are the best at that. They really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. And Ash at one time was like, they lost all their chess matches today. I was like,
Okay. How many parenting books do you have in your house?
Like 100. Like
Okay.
I have some right here.
How many parenting books have you read cover to cover?
10, 15.
Impressive. Neil, what's your answer to that question?
0.
No, you were
Cover to cover? No, it's maybe 1.
Okay.
The Tao of parenting, and it's kind of a cheat because it's a little shorter. And
Okay.
well,
All right. I like Lauren's answer better. Neil, how many dad jokes do you tell on average in a given day?
3 to 4, 3 to 5.
Okay.
Depending.
Okay.
Depending
And
on-
Lauren, how bad are the dad jokes? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the worst.
I secretly love them. So I'm not a good one to ask. I love them.
Okay.
I love cheesy.
This is what makes
But
for a happy marriage.
Ash would say he does rate them. He rates them on a scale of 1 to 10. He gives a lot of zeros, but it makes the 5 pluses matter more because
Right.
he's honest with the ratings.
I'm
Right.
getting more 5s these days.
You get some 5s.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like the Olympic judge that's like really grades on a harsh curve. So,
Yeah.
what is the most absurd thing that one of your kids has ever asked you to buy for them?
Great Wolf Lodge, the actual place.
The entire place. Okay.
Just live there as our home.
I
Yeah.
love that. I can't handle the amount of chlorine that is in the air at the Great Wolf Lodge. So, what is the most difficult kids' TV show that you've ever had to sit through?
Crybabies. Like, never again. I couldn't. I won't. Why?
I just love that Neil has an instant visceral reaction to this.
That's years ago. I'll never let Leo watch it.
Lauren, do you have a different one?
Wasn't that bad. I don't know. Mine are more of the YouTube ASMR pattern hands doing, those.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what is your favorite kids movie?
Super Mario Brothers.
Totoro.
Totoro. Okay.
Oh, I switched my answer. I switched.
Yours is also Totoro now?
Yeah, it was the first movie we showed Ashwin. We wanted to show him Miyazaki.
That's sweet. Okay, here's another one for you. Which nostalgic movie can you just not wait to force your kids to watch?
Karate Kid.
Same or different for you, Lauren?
No, mine would be Beetlejuice, I think.
Oh, we just did that pretty recently in our household. Top notch. We haven't done Karate Kid yet. I don't know why. It's great. Okay. What is the worst experience that either of you have ever had assembling a kid's toy or a piece of furniture?
Lauren informed me I was going to build an entire play set in the backyard. I never do this stuff. It took me 5 days on, like, every day doing it, triple checking things. It was so hard and it was so worth it. But yeah, like, I didn't know it was going to be that hard. And then someone else built it. I remember one time meeting a dad and I'm like, oh yeah, how'd it go? He's like, I built it yesterday, like in one day. I was like, that was a serious week of my life.
Wow. Didn't even use the instruction manual. Just did it by vibes. Yeah. Yeah.
Vibe building. It's the newest
Vibe.
trend.
It is. That's what I hear. Okay. Have you ever accidentally mixed up your kids' names?
I'm brutal for it. I call Leo, my younger son, Jay.
It's your brother. Yep. All right. Now, how often do you tell your kids back in my day stories?
You do a lot. You do a lot. Yeah.
I guess I do.
Okay.
I do a little.
Do you have a favorite one, Neil, that you like to tell?
Back in my day, I do love to tell him about the dawn of video games. It's insane to me that he lives in these like beautiful, like completely realized 3D worlds, and I was playing flat games like Mario.
Yeah.
And like, you don't even know how great this is.
Someday he should read Console Wars, which is a great book.
Look, I have it right here.
Yes, I devoured that book. It was very good.
Nice.
Okay, finally, what is your take on minivans?
Oh, this is right into the heart. We literally wrestled over this one. We literally.
I'm down.
Lauren's team minivan. Okay.
The door doesn't open; it slides.
Right.
That was,
Yeah.
I didn't win that battle, but
Oh,
I'm on the minivan next time.
Yeah, one of the things, people don't quite appreciate about minivans is that the 3-year-old can't open the door and swing it into the car next to you. It just can't happen. Okay, so Lauren's team minivan. No, I'm not. Maybe on vacation when no one can identify me.
Yeah.
And I'm out of the state or country.
That's happened to me. I you put it perfectly. That's how I feel.
Yes, I have definitely had one on vacation, and I do not own one now, nor do I have a plan to. Maybe one of those new electric VW buses. We'll see. Well, with that, Lauren, Neil, thank you so much for joining me today on Startup Dad. This was a really fun conversation. Appreciate all that you had to share, and I wish you both the best of luck on your company and your family, and I can't wait to try little magic stories. It's going to be great.
Thanks so much for having us, Adam. You're really a delight. It was super fun.
Thank you for listening to today's conversation with Neil and Lauren. Startup Dad is available in all your favorite podcast players and YouTube. Just search for Startup Dad to find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.